Hello, good people of the internet. It's been a little longer than planned. I went and got myself pneumonia, which is really bad. I never had it before. That was bad. I was a adult man crying. Anywho, so today we're not going to be painting anything. We're going to rant a little bit. So I went and bought myself some Skavens. I've never played Age of Sigmar, but with the 4th edition being released, I thought, why not try to get into it? And I didn't buy the starter set since it was expensive, and I don't care about the Stormcast Eternals at all. Granted, they're cool, but it's not my thing. But I have always loved the Skavens, playing Total War, always the Skavens. There's just something about them. And I also love Horde armies. The Tyranids is definitely my favorite. Orcs is second. So I bought a lot of new Skavens and I was excited to get started. But then, pushfit. I had forgotten that when Games Workshop release a starter set, a lot of the models, all of them, are pushfit. Now the idea about pushfit is to get new players, collectors, an easier start to the hobby since they don't have to fumble around with the glue, which can be a pain. And I get the thought behind that, but honestly it's kind of a bit of a miss. You still need to cut and scrape, so it's not friendly for small kids. They will cut their fingers off. Kids are idiots, believe me. I have a couple of them. And they're not fun to put together. For the smaller models, push fit is okay. Not good, but okay. Often they're really quick to put together because they consist of 2 to 5 pieces. But the larger ones, like the Brood Terror that I'm fondling around with here, is quite horrible and frustrating to put together. Weak parts will snap easy, and things just don't fit. Getting the right angle and fit becomes more and more difficult as the model comes together. The more parts you have on it, the more hard to reach spots occur. Now, why is that an issue? Well, if push fit is intended for newcomers, then there's a chance that newcomers, their first experience is going to be kind of bad and frustrating. Since the parts almost fit, but not quite, it can feel like you're doing something wrong, and you may be, but most likely it's just a bad fit. When you have 30 parts, if you on part 16 misalign it a little bit, that can become quite visible when you reach part 26. Then you have a huge gap. So you get a model with huge gaps that you will have to fill, and that's not an entry-level thing to do, filling gaps. I'm still horrible at it. I've been doing this for almost 20 years. So it is kind of a bad introduction into the hobby, as well as all of a sudden snapping something because you're trying to push it in, but you can't quite. So you apply a little bit more pressure, then there's a weak point and the part snaps, and that's your model pretty much ruined unless you got the glue. And honestly, I have more than once had to glue parts together and then try to push them into the sockets again. It's just a pretty bad experience. So what I do when I get a push fit model, and I guess a lot of you guys do that as well, is the simple parts I push together where I can see, okay, this is a nice fit, there's not a huge gap, but quite often I end up snapping the rods off and then gluing the model together, like I would with any other model. The push fit models typically consists of fewer parts, and customization is not a thing at all for them. And again, that's good for newcomers, but if you want people to get excited, you also want their experience of putting the models together to be fun and not frustrating. So I honestly think that it's quite a big miss from Games Workshop to do the whole push fit thing, because if you have a 10-year-old and he's putting together his first model. He's doing it by himself, and he's proud. Maybe one of his parents has helped him cutting out the parts from the sprue and cleaning them up. But he's sitting there, he's putting them together. Then all of a sudden, a sword breaks off an arm because he has to hold it by the sword to actually get the rod into the socket or into the hole. There's a penis joke there somewhere. I'm infantile. Then that's a bad experience for that kid, and that kind of sucks. That's something that could actually hurt them getting interested in the hobby if they find the whole modeling part to be something they fail at. Nobody likes to fail. Like that's not healthy. So I really think that the pushfit models are a huge problem, and Games Workshop should probably stop doing them. The glue applicators are also quite horrible, but that's Citadel, and that's a whole nother video. Citadel sucks. That's just a fact. Well, not a fact. That's a statement that I think is a fact, because words are funny. So, what do you guys think? Do you actually like the pushfit? Do you try to? Is it like, oh, that's nice, this is easily put together, or is it? For me, it's very frustrating putting pushfit together. It never comes out nice. Not like with glue. I always have gaps and parts that didn't quite fit, or I have to work around and add some glue and push the part back into place. Like with the Brute Terror, there were several places where all of a sudden something just didn't fit because things moved around as the different parts got snapped in, and that wasn't a fun experience for me. So I think pushfit for the starter sets are kind of a miss. I do understand the whole like glue is a chemical, but a cutter can snap off a 10-year-old's finger easily, or definitely cut it severely. So for a safety perspective, I mean, then you need to supply the parts without them being on a sprue. Then that would make sense. So I don't think that the age range for like the young ones, the young kids coming into the hobby, if they have a parent to help them, I don't think glue is an issue. I mean, they're not that dumb. Anywho, that was a rant for today. The next video is going to be me painting a Brute Terror or maybe some old world scenery. What would you like to see the most? A Brute Terror or the old world scenery? Let me know in the comments. I have both lying around that I need to do something about. Anywho, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this short Sunday rant. And if you did, leave a like. And if you're not a subscriber, subscribe. It makes me happy. And it costs very little for you. Like, it's minimal effort for you. You just click the button. You don't even have to click the notification thing. It's just subscribe. Thank you so much for your time. I know it's valuable. It's a limited resource. And I'm glad that you spent roughly 9 minutes listening to me rant about pushfit. Bye.